Hello folks, we take the part 2 video of this exercise 11.4 and now we are coming up with the next lot of problems. In the problem number 7, they say that there is a hyperbola whose vertex is given as plus or minus 20 and whose foci is plus or minus 30. You have to find the equation of the hyperbola. It's very clear to us that it's of type 1 because by looking at the coordinate itself we can find out that it's type 1 or type 2. So it is of type 1. So first we get the equation and then we substitute the values. That's how we are going to get the actual equation. So the required equation is, therefore the required equation is it's x squared by a squared minus y squared by b squared equal to 1. And here what all we have, vertex we know is always a and foci we know is always c. So a squared is 4 and c squared is 9. But we all are aware that c squared is a squared plus b squared. So like that, b squared which we require now is a squared minus c squared, which is c squared minus a squared. So therefore that will come to 9 minus 4, which is 5. So therefore the equation is x squared by a squared, which is 4, minus y squared by 5, which is 1. First problem in this lot. Then 8th problem, they give us a vertex same way, but the very clear from the coordinate again that it's of type 2. So let's take the equation. The required equation is y squared by a squared minus x squared by b squared equal to 1. And what happens here? Here we have because it's a vertex, a is 5, and because the foci it is 8, so a squared will become 25 and c squared will become 64. We have learnt from here that b squared is c squared minus a squared, which is 64 minus 25. That gives us 14 minus 5, that's 9, and 5 minus 4, that's 3, so 39. So what is your equation? Therefore the equation is y squared by 25 minus x squared by 39 equal to 1. Right. Then we move to the next problem. Again same, just like this. Yeah, it's just like this. So same way, on the same lines, the required equation is, because it's very clear that's of type 2, it's y squared by a squared minus x squared by b squared equal to 1, where we have the values vertex is 3 and the focus is 5. So a squared becomes 9 and c squared becomes 25. Like that your b squared becomes c squared minus a squared, which is 25 minus 9, which is 16. So we can have the equation. Therefore the equation is y squared by a squared, which is 9, minus x squared by b squared, which is 16, equal to 1. Yes. Then we quickly move to the 10th question. Now in the 10th question you have the foci and the length of the transverse axis. Now as we had done in the ellipse, length of the what did we call it there, minor axis and major axis. Major axis was 2a, length of the major axis is 2a and length of the minor axis was 2b. So also here length of the transverse axis, the major axis is called as a transverse axis and that is 2a, and the length of the minor axis is always called as length of the conjugate axis is called as 2b. That's how they are defined. So let's take it up that way and let's see how it is coming. The required equation here from this coordinate, it's clear it's of type 1. So it's the coordinate which is helping us to decide the curve. The required equation is, it's of the first type, so x squared by a squared minus y squared by b squared is 1. And what else? Here we have therefore c as 5 and transverse axis is always 2a, which is 8. So a makes it 4. So we are all interested in squares. So c squared is 25, a squared is 16. Then we require b squared, which is always c squared minus a squared. That is 25 minus 16, 9, because I am very aware of the triplet. So therefore the equation is x squared by a squared, which is 16, minus y squared by b squared, which is 9, equal to 1. Yes. Okay, once we are done with that, we have the next problem that's also on the same lines where they ask us conjugate axis, and conjugate axis is 2b. So same way we will go, but we have to decide from the foci that it's of type 2. So the required equation is y squared by a squared minus x squared by b squared equal to 1. And what all happens here? Here we have c becoming 13 and 2b becoming 24. So b becoming 12. So c squared becoming 169 and b squared becoming 144. So therefore, yeah, a we require. Therefore, a squared is c squared minus b squared. Yeah, so that is 169. Again, if you are very aware of the triplet, we will come to know that this is 25. So therefore, the equation is y squared by a squared, which is 25, minus x squared by 144 is 1. Yes. So same way we have the next problem where they give us a foci but they give us the length of the lattice rectum. So same way we apply the formula 2b squared by a, and from there we will be able to get whatever that we require. From the foci's equation, it's clear that it's of type 1. So required equation is x squared by a squared minus y squared by b squared equal to 1. And what all things do we have here? We have c as 3 root 5. So our c squared is 3 root 5 into 3 root 5. That way it is 9 into 5, 45. And you have 2b squared by a as 8. Right. So that means you have 2b squared becoming 8a. Or rather you have b squared becoming equal to 4a when you get the 2 on the other side. When we have this solved, but you have c squared as a squared plus b squared, which means you have 45 equal to a squared plus 4a, because you know that b squared is 4a. Then we can have everything on one side. So a squared plus 4a minus 45 equal to 0. Now 9 5s are 45 is the most glaring, and I think that is going to help you. Otherwise you can have 15 3s are 45 also, but that is not of use. I think 9 5s should be good. So a squared plus 9a minus 5a minus 45 equal to 0. That is a plus 9 into a minus 5 when we factorize. So that gives you a value as 5 and minus 9. Now here a values we are accepting only the positive ones. So the negative ones we are not going to take, and it's going to be a equal to 5 that we are considering. Yeah, so that way we will get for a equal to 5, a squared is 25, and how about b squared? It is 4 into a, which is 20. So therefore the equation is x squared by a squared 25 minus y squared by b squared 20 equal to 1. Yeah, so that is the next lot of problems where they had given us some credentials and we had used it to get the equation of the hyperbola. Only 2 types of hyperbola, nothing to get confused, very easily you can do it. So that's about this. With the remaining maybe couple of problems that will come in the next video. Thank you.